There's a whole generation of people walking around right now, carrying damage they were never given the words to describe, not because it didn't happen, but because someone told them early, repeatedly, that it didn't count. I'm talking about Gen X. Born somewhere between the early 60s and late 70s, these were the kids who came home to empty houses, who figured things out on their own, who were handed independence before they were ready for it, and told that was a gift. And here's the thing. Most of them believed it. They had to. When you grow up in a house where no one checks on you, where emotional needs are kind of ignored, not out of cruelty, just out of habit, your brain does something quiet, something automatic. It learns to not need. It shuts off the part of you that reaches out, that asks for help, that says, I'm struggling. And on the surface, that looks like strength. But underneath, it's a coping mechanism. One that follows you into every relationship, every job, every hard season of your adult life. The research actually shows that emotional neglect, even the unintentional kind, leaves very similar marks on the brain as more visible forms of childhood trauma. Let me say that again, slowly. Not being seen, not being emotionally responded to as a child, can shape the nervous system in ways that take decades to understand. Gen X wasn't abused, mostly. They were just unseen, and nobody gave them permission to grieve that. So they became the generation that handles things, that doesn't complain, that rolls their eyes at therapy, that calls emotions soft. But if you look a little closer, you'll see the hyperindependence, the difficulty trusting people, the kind of loneliness that hides behind sarcasm. You'll see someone who learned as a child that their inner world was not important enough to discuss. And I think that matters. I think it's worth naming it, even now. Because healing doesn't have an age limit. And understanding why you are the way you are is always the first step. So I want to ask you something. If you're Gen X, or if you were raised by someone who was, does any of this land for you? Drop it in the comments. Seriously, what did your childhood teach you about emotions? Because I think this conversation is one that's been waiting to happen for a very long time,